Ignominious.
Oh, yeah.
Just in case you didn't hear, that was the word of the
Good
day.
job.
Wow.
I think a lot of people say ignominious, and I just wanted to pronounce it for you.
Ignominious.
Or I wanted her to pronounce it for
Ignominious.
you. Ignominious.
Ignominious.
Oh, goodness.
And then I make her rap.
Ignominious.
Just JK. Alright. What's it mean?
Shameful.
Yes, shameful, disgraceful, dishonorable, despicable. I thought the townspeople probably think of Hester in that way. Ignominious.
Mrs. Bream,
Yes.
I found the years for both of the websites, but I couldn't find the author or the city of the publishing date or anything. I did print off the Atlantic one,
Okay.
but it wouldn't let me print the other one. There wasn't an option to
Okay.
print it.
That's fine, thank you. And actually, I believe Purdue Owl states that to use the date that you printed it off. But I want to double check that in my book too, okay?
How would you use this in a sentence?
Ignominious, her behavior was ignominious when she became an unwed mother in Hester's case.
Did you say felt ignominious?
Could I say what?
The boy felt?
Yes. Yes, you could.
Could you describe an act as being ignominious?
Yes, you can. You can use it in several ways. Ignominiously would be an adverb. Ignominiousness is a noun. Ignominious, adjective. Yeah. Those are the appropriate ways. I've never used ignominiousness. Ignominiously, ignominious, yes. Yeah. Describe someone's behavior, you could describe someone, because it is an adjective. Okay. So we're going to discuss chapters 12 and 13 today. Papers due Thursday, just as a reminder. I do want to give you a quiz over the chapters we've read so far sometime. Let's shoot for a Monday quiz. Okay, can you make a note of that?
Over what chapters?
Chapter 1 through let's go 1 through 10. First 10 chapters.
Wait, don't we have standardized testing on Monday?
Yeah, we do.
No, you don't. You have it Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 12 and 13. What's going on here? Paige.
Okay, so he went outside and stood on the platform for a really long time, and that same night, one of the elderly men, I can't remember his name right now. Anyways, he was dying, and so a lot of townspeople
He
were
who, just to keep the reader.
What?
He went outside.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Dinsdale went
Dinsdale.
outside. And he was standing on the platform where Hester had stood.
Yes.
And he was standing there, freezing, and he let out a shriek, and he was worried people are, gonna come out and see, but apparently like people are just accustomed to hearing witches scream during the night, and so he just figured, well, I guess people don't think about it then. And there were 2 people that looked outside of the house with lanterns, but it was so dark out there, like no one could really see him. And a lot of people had been out at the elderly man's deathbed. I can't remember what his name is, but Hester came by with Pearl, and they all sat there together, and Pearl really wanted him to be there. He was like, well, are you going to come and stand here and hold hands with me and Mommy tomorrow at noonday? And he's like, no, I'm not going to. On Judgment Day, I'll stand with you guys, not tomorrow. And then Mr. Chillingworth came by because he had been at the deathbed trying to like make it as comfortable for the old man as possible. And as he walked out, there was like a meteor that had gone through the sky. And Mr. Dinsdale wasn't sure if it was just like his guilty conscience or if he really did, like this red egg like appeared in the sky. And so because of the light shining there, Mr. Chillingworth could see everybody, and so he's like, well, he has him now, like he knows exactly what it is. And Mr. Dinsdale and Mr. Chillingworth go home, and everybody's kind of parts their separate ways. And then the next day, Mr. Dinsdale gives like the greatest sermon he's ever given. And then people are saying, did you see the red A in the sky? And they're all saying it stands for angel, because like the man who had died had become an angel that night. And so he says, no, he didn't see it. But it's intense now.
And you like it now.
Yeah. And then also, for 13, the A now is more of a symbolized, they think it symbolizes Abel instead of adulteress, because like they don't, it's almost like she's making up what she's done and all the good works that she does for people, and like the town is proud of Hester. Like when new people come, like, oh, this is our Hester, she does so much for the poor. And so like she's like a great woman, people look up to her, but she's still, like she knows her place, I guess. And she feels like, she says she and Mr. Dinsdale are tied by like an iron rod of like the same like crime that they've committed. And so she's kind of like tied down, like she has to, she has like responsibilities to him kind of. And I don't know, she's trying to like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, it's like kind of overcome like her past
Compensate
problems.
for,
Yeah. For
okay.
in a better way now.
Good summary. Does anyone want to add anything to Paige's summary? Even any comments? If you don't have any more explanation of it, do you have any comments or how you're feeling about the characters now, or how you're feeling about Hawthorne's writing, or anything? The floor is open for discussion. What did you think of the so-called meteor?
They were saying that the meteor, like, they believed that it was a sign from heaven that something was about to happen, or like an Indian attack, or they just figured like it meant something. It couldn't just be a meteor. But
this community and this time frame, this era of writing, really believed in like signs from God, you know, to do this, to do that, not do this, not do that. And it's interesting how they assumed it meant angel, or instead of adulteress or adulterer. Does anyone want to comment on that, or?
I just think it's really weird that an A appeared in the sky that was red.
Say that again.
I just feel like it's really strange that a red A appeared in the sky. Like it's
Yes.
weird.
Could it have been a hallucination?
But everyone
That's
thought to some extent.
yeah.
But then other people were saying they saw one as well.
Okay.
So he really was the person who was just too much.
Who would have been hallucinating it? Could Dimmesdale, in his guilt, do you think he could have just seen it up there? I'm just throwing out some different ideas.
Well, because like when he was seeing, he was like, well, maybe like other people's guilty consciences like could very well be seeing something different in the sky, just because since they think it's a sign, they assume it's for them. But like just knowing that someone else had seen the A as well, and they assume like they think it stands for something else, but like nonetheless it was still an A.
Okay. Do you think that, you know how it is when a couple people see something or hear something, then they kind of, more people get on the bandwagon, and they're like,
They kind of like
oh
fake it,
yeah, I guess I did see that or hear that. even
Yeah.
though they may not actually have, they're just kind of going with the crowd or twisting what they did see or hear to mean that, right?
It's like in your mind they become like you actually did, even though.
Right. Yeah, kind of like the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? If so many people said it happened, then it must have happened, right? Then you begin to think like them. I always thought that the interesting part of this book, no matter how many times I read this book, I always think the meteor is just odd. You know, because I guess the dichotomy of this colonial witch Salem era and then this space thing, this meteor thing, you know, it's kind of like, it was what?
Rocket Ball.
It was odd, yeah, a little bit of Rocket Boys and the Scarlet Letter, right? I have always thought that was an odd thing. Why do you think Hawthorne did that?
Maybe to throw the reader off. Like to, I don't know.
Something else is I know Chillingsworth tried to play like mind games with you guys too.
Okay,
So maybe it's just a mind game that he should.
okay, that's interesting. Because Dimmesdale is very vulnerable, isn't he? That's the best time to play mind games with somebody. When they are feeling vulnerable and when they're, and it's terrible to do, but someone like Chillingsworth would pounce on that opportunity, right? Yeah.
Esther says he's like on the verge of going crazy,
Yeah.
like if he's not already stepped over that line.
Yeah. He has driven himself mad,
And
basically.
it's been like 7 years, like in chapter 13, Pearl 7, and he still hasn't confessed. But
Yeah. And
It's eating away.
the guilt is literally killing him. It is actually killing him. And so he's very vulnerable and almost having a nervous breakdown. You know, in our definition, in our day and age, you know, he would have been medicated years ago, right? If people close to him would have seen his strange behavior, right? So he is really mentally unstable. And so Chillingsworth, this is a good time for Chillingsworth to say, oh yes, that this happened, and for Dimmesdale to believe it, because he's very weak right now. And he's using his sermons as an outlet to maybe free some of his guilt. But everyone just thinks, oh, it's the best sermon ever, how do you do it, you're just this wonderful guy, right?
You've seen like people like commit their lives like to Christ after that service because it was so good. But it's because he wasn't giving the service for like the reason people thought he was.
Right. Which probably in his mind is deceitful as well.
Yeah.
So he feels guilty about absolutely every move he makes. You know, and if you're a church-going person, you've been to church on a Sunday where the sermon was just average, right? And then some Sundays it's just like he knocks it out of the park, right? It really applies to something in your life, or you find yourself using what he said, you know, in the next week, and people talk about it. You know, the congregation's all abuzz about whether it was good or bad or mediocre, right? So, but lately he's just been, you know, the PhD of sermons up there, right? Okay, anything else in 12 and 13? Any predictions? What do you think's going to happen to Dimmesdale? Any guesses, predictions?
I think eventually he's just gonna like explode and like float out, or he'll die if not.
Okay.
That's not gonna be.
He'll die of like kind of like a broken heart, I guess, because
Okay.
he's not like every time he sees Pearl, he's reminded of like what he's done, and like he can't like, I don't know, really be with her and like them as a family. And
He said
Okay.
he felt connected with them, like when they were all standing there, like there was like a surge of energy that he could feel going through that he hadn't felt.
yeah.
He is being, he's not being true to anyone, not even himself, not to God, not to Pearl, not to Hester, not to the situation. So in his mind, he's probably seeing himself as a complete and total failure, as a human being, right? And I'm sure others would agree, depending on who you talk to. And so, to predict death would probably be a good prediction. Any other predictions about him? How about Hester and Pearl? What do you predict for them, for those mother and daughter in the future? Because now the community's kind of turning, right? Oh, A is not for adulteress anymore, it's for Abel. Right?
But
It's whatever fits their, you know, what's convenient for them. Lauren?
I said something to add about the A. When they were talking, they were saying it's almost like sacred, like a nun wearing like a cross. They were like something about like an Indian like shooting at her, and it like the A like protected her. So now it's just like sacred too. It's not just.
So if it's so sacred and special, why doesn't everyone get one? Right? Let's just have Hester embroider A's for every woman in town, and we'll all be protected then, right? Wonder what they would say to that. Yeah.
Well, like, I think that eventually the community will turn over a new leaf and, like, you know, get over, like, what happened, and, like they are starting to already with the A be, like, the A standing for Abel instead of, like, you know, adulteress, and I think that, you know, what Hawthorne is trying to say is that, like, you move on, like, life goes on, you don't just, like, keep badgering at one thing for the rest of your life, you
Okay.
just, you know.
But what a change of events, right? Yesterday when we discussed, it was like, will this community ever forgive her? We talked a lot about forgiveness being a theme, and now it's a new day, right? God has sent a sign, right? The A in the sky, and then they interpreted it to mean, you know, I like how you said they're turning over a new leaf, because clearly this is a growing experience for everyone involved. The little town, you know, Hester, Pearl, Dimsdale, everyone. There's only one person that I think might not learn from this and might not be a better person for it. Who would that be? Chillingsworth.
Yeah.
I think he's got an evil streak, and that can't be changed. And unfortunately, there are people in society like that. You know, that no matter what, that they've missed the opportunities to grow and to better themselves, right? Because they're always looking for the angle. He always had his own agenda, right? And it seemed that he always put people down to build himself up. So, anyway, other predictions.
I wonder about Pearl, like,
Mhm.
at some point isn't she gonna want to, like, specifically why her mother wears the A, and she's gonna want the real story.
Like,
Like,
where's
how
my
is that
dad?
gonna affect her?
Yeah.
She's getting to the age where she's gonna realize, like, why don't I have a dad? All my, like, I don't know if she has friends now, because I know, like, she doesn't really make friends easily, it seems like, even if people are starting to accept Hester. So,
Is she a smart little girl?
yeah.
What do you predict for her? Do you think she'll stay in that town?
She's kind of a free spirit.
Yeah.
Do you think she'll commit the same sin as her mother?
No, I don't think she's smart. Yeah, I think she knows better.
I don't want to give any spoiler alerts. You'll have to keep reading. Any other predictions? What about Chillingsworth?
You should go die in a hole.
I agree.
He should go die in a hole.
I'll probably just die.
Yeah.
Probably die off.
Like he'll die like a lonely man, like evil, like always having
He
hatred
wasn't
towards
nice,
some
though.
certain person.
Like,
He was
said at the
never.
beginning, he was never like a good husband.
Mhm.
Or I'll move back.
He's the character that you never like,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm speaking for myself. From the beginning to the end, he does. If he changes at all, it's for the worse, right? But you know how some characters you can start off going, not sure, and then you end up liking them. Like in Rocket Boys, the dad. You get irritated with him, but in the end, I think I still liked him. You saw his point at least. You may not have agreed with his tactics or every move his character made, but you saw where he was coming from. With Chillingsworth, where he's coming from is an evil, dark place, right? And that most people can't imagine or can't or don't agree with. Okay, anything else in 12 and 13?
Hester is no longer a shoe from the village.
Okay.
So, you know, I think that that's gonna change everyone's, like, you know, like, the way that she's treated, just in general, by everyone in the town, not village.
And how does she feel about this?
I don't think she cares. She's a very strong, you know, hearted woman, and she doesn't care what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't, like,
You know, whenever you think you're a strong person, I always think Hester, you know, what she was subjected to. Yes, she brought some of it on herself, sure, but then, you know, we've talked about this, to stay there and raise a child there and give back to the community. What kind of faith and strength does that take? To give back to the very people who are making you feel bad, who are shunning you, who are making you live on the outskirts of town, but you keep doing nice things for them and for people they know, right? That takes a lot of strength and courage. And I personally think she has Pearl's best interests at heart. She's setting a very good example for her daughter on how to treat people. Because it would be very easy for her to just shut herself up in the little cabin and become an evil, mean-hearted person, right? And
I think she wants to show Pearl that you shouldn't be afraid. Like, if you've done something wrong, you should still, like, live up to it and, like, own up to it and, you know, move on with life, as I said, and, like, you know, don't care what other people think. Just go about it.
True. And I'm sure as Pearl gets older in their conversations, Pearl's going to say to her mom, why didn't we just leave, right? And her mom's going to explain to her why. And hopefully Pearl will see what a strong mother figure she had. Okay. Chapter 14. Actually, I'm going to assign 14 and 15 to you. Hester and the physician, and Hester and Pearl. And your papers are due Thursday. If you want to turn them in before that, you may. Page.
Yeah.
Now I'll show you something. Now, here's how to cite an internet source. But since this was published, you no longer have to enumerate. But yeah, the last thing you need is the date when you access the source.
Okay.
So like if you got online last night, put it on, you're gonna put yesterday's date. But if you wanna take this back and copy this down, you
Yeah.
can.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
ever do a project?
Well, as soon as we're done with this, we're gonna go straight into The Crucible,
Okay.
which is a play
Mm.
in the same era.
Okay.
When we're done with that, because that'll go pretty quick, then we're gonna do something.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've been getting lots of like project ideas. For
Ah, okay. Now, I saw you had Doubt. Are they doing that downtown as a play?
No, I'm just reading it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.